Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So for today we'll be working on a to-do list challenge. So let's get to our VS Code. Okay, so this is our HTML file here, and this is our CSS. So you can see the header, you can see the input section, you can see the status, you can see the to-do list. That's where our task will be added dynamically, and this is the instruction. So this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. But there are certain CSS um there are certain class name that has been created, but our duty here is to implement them in the in our JavaScript code. So let me show you something. So we have a certain CSS style, that's the to do item. Now the to do item is basically the class for the CSS tags, right? And also we have to do text that has been created. So the to do text is actually supposed to be here. So I'm just kind of hard coding it so that you see how it looks like when we add a text or something. So this is how it basically looks like. And we also have our button here, our delete button. So delete button, and we have it to be here. Oops, sorry. Supposed to be here rather. So this is how our to do tax this is how our tax is basically structured, with the delete button, and it's here. So this is what we are basically going to do, right? So other instructions are to, when we click on this tax here, there should be a CSS style that will be added to it, that will make it known that it is what it's completed. So you can see this to do item dot completed here. So basically this border left color is supposed to change to green, and also to clicking on this button should delete it, and as well as when you tap select the tags to show that it's completed. Also to the text here must also be crossed, so we have it here. And the total should be also calculated, and the completed task should also be calculated. So now let's go to our JavaScript file. So we have our JavaScript file. So I'm basically using the DOM context loaded event listener, because basically it helps you to making sure that it's basically make sure that the HTML elements are fully loaded before the JavaScript is manipulated. So now, looking at this to do list here, we basically will take into consideration certain states and events, actions that will be changed. So we need our to do input. So we first state some of the things we need. So coming here, we need our to do input here. We need this event listener button here. We will also need this, but let's focus on displaying the tags. And let me comment out this part since we know how our list is displayed. So yes, so these are the things we need for now. So const to do input will be equal to document dot get element by id, and we have our to do input. Then we need our button document dot get element by id, add button, and the next thing we need is our to-do list document dot get element by id. This is the to-do list. So now that we are done, we need to create an event listener for the button, add to task button. So add button, we've already targeted its element already. So add button dot add event listener, and our event will be a click. Right, so when we click on this button, what should happen? Now clicking on this button here, so let's say reading. Now the add to task must keep track of our value, right? Our value, it must keep track of our value. So we need to get our value, our input value. So I'll create a variable, then to do input dot value. Sorry, to do input dot value. Now after getting that, we want to create a condition where in case the user forgets to add a tag and press on the add tags button. So we need to have a condition for that. So let's say if to do value, now the to do value is basically a string, right? It's basically a string. So we are going to use this string method, which is called stream. So the stream is basically used for removing leading and trailing like spaces from a string. So after, if we remove everything and we still have an empty, we just give it an alert that oops, you forgot to create a space, you forgot to add a tax. Then we press return to end it. So now that we've created it, the next thing to do here is to actually, we want to display our tags. When we input our tags, we want it to be displayed. So what we can actually do is to create, so this is what we are coming to do. We are basically coming to create this whole HTML structure here. So we first create an element. So let's say to do list is equal to document dot create element, document dot create element, we have li. Then after creating our element, we need to make sure that this element that has been created, it has its class name to be to do item, right? So we use, so to do list, sorry, this is supposed to be list. I don't want to confuse it with this one, so let me just make it like this. So to do list dot so to do list dot class list dot add, so we are basically adding the class to it, item. Now after including it, then we basically add our p tag with the button. So do to do list dot, so how can we include this HTML structure here? We need inner HTML. Inner HTML reads both the HTML tag, so that would be the best option here. But just take notice when you are using inner HTML. Okay, so after that, then we create our class. So you can see, make sure you do the same thing. So let me just leave it like that. Class, sorry. So what will actually go here would what actually go here will be our to do value, and we create the button class, sorry, delete button and x. So now after creating this, we need to add it to the to-do list. So that's why we created it here, the elements, targeted the elements here. So to-do list, we therefore append its child. So we add all the to-do lists here to it. Right, so let's see. So let's see, I type code. Okay, there is an issue somewhere here. Let me see. Code. So the button is actually supposed to be sorry, instead of to do list I included to do item. This should work. Yes. Now if you realize that when we type in our tags, first the add to tags button, it's display, you realize that the initial value, which is the coding, is still shown here. So we need to work on that. So what we can do is to do input dot value, we give it an empty string. So coding, reading. So you see, this is basically how it is. So this is how it's going to be like. Now after we created this, after we are done creating this, now you can see that our list is being displayed. Now we want to work on a situation where when we select this task here, we mark it as complete. When we press on this button here, it's delete. So we need to add an event listener to the to-do list, because that's where we are actually clicking and initiating an event to. So to do list dot add event listener. Yeah. Now, so first of all, we have, okay, let's work on the delete and work on the complete task. So I want to first, let's work on the complete task. So in working on the complete task here, right, I showed you certain CSS. So this is the CSS class here that has been added to it. So what we need to do is to basically target our element. Then when we target our element, we make sure that we include the completed class to it. So we'll create a variable const, let's say to do item. So we are actually trying to target our element, right? So to do item will be equal to e dot target dot closest, right? Now we are using closest because we want to so what's basically the reason why we the reason why I use closer is because we want to find like the nearest ancestor, like, or element itself that matches maybe the CSS like selector, right? So let's say we have what I mean here is that we have our to do item. So we want to check we want to like find we want to find the nearest element that matches maybe that selector. So let's say dot to do item. So let me console log it for you to see. Console log to do item. So let's press here and enter coding. Wait, we have an issue here. To do item is equal to e const target closest. I made a mistake. So this is how it looks like. So now you see we are able to find the nearest element matching that selector. So now that we've been able to locate it, so we therefore add a condition that, let's say, if it is actually the to do item, then we include to do item dot class list dot, so we will use toggle completed. So the toggle here will check if, let's say, that particular element, if it doesn't have the class, it has it. If it has it, it's remove it. That's clicking on it. So let me show it to you. So you can see here, let me go to our HTML. So when I tap on it, you can see the completed class name has been added here. When I remove it, you see it goes. Okay, so now that we work on the completed part, let's work on the delete part. Right, so on the delete part, what we want to do is that if, let's say, that targeted um element contains, let's say, the delete button, if it contains the delete button, you thereby remove it, right? So what you can do is that if e dot target um dot, let's say, the class list, so let's say if it contains delete button, all right. So if it contains the delete button, then e dot target dot closest. So we are targeting our td. So this is basically to ensure that when I try deleting or selecting a button, it doesn't delete. Like, let's say if I put in coding here, right? Now when I press this, you see it's been added to it independently. Me tapping on this doesn't affect this, right? It doesn't affect this. So what we can basically do here is that okay, so what we can basically do here is that so we are saying that we target the closest, this one, to do item, then we basically remove it if it contains that button. We basically remove it. So you can see it has been removed. Let me refresh coding. Okay, we realize that when we press completed, the text here is supposed to be crossed, but it is not crossed. So with to do item is equal to closest to do text. So to do item, we get our event. Pardon me, I feel like there is a mistake somewhere, for which our okay, you just work on it. So clicking on it, reading. Okay, so we've now worked on the deleting of tags, but we basically have an issue here. That's when you press on the the completed, when you press on the tag to complete it, the to do text is basically supposed to be included. It's basically supposed to be included, but it is not. It is basically not, which I'm trying to go through it and see what's done. What is the issue here? Don't really get why it's not working. Am I missing something? Am I missing something here? So let's leave it. Now let's work on the total and completed task, calculating it. So we need to create a function that calculates the total and completed tasks. We need to create a function that does that. But first of all, I'll change this, add a class name, so span id and coming. Let's make it 0 and let me make it total count. Then span id and make it complete count. And make it complete count. Okay, I realized from the hard-coded part, you can see that this one is basically crossing, right? But when we include it here, it's not. What could possibly be the reason why it's not showing? What could possibly be the reason? So let me just work on the total and completed. I'm sure I'll find a way out, or maybe you can type it in the comment section and let's see. So total count is equal to document dot get elements by id, and we have total count and completed count in the document dot get elements. Complete count. So we create a function. For total. So creating the function for the total count, right? So I'm going to use so create our function and update total types. Update total. So So what we need to do is that const total tax will be equal to, so we will thereby once it gets, so basically we just get the length of the to do item. So total will be equal to document dot query selector. So everything dot to do item dot length, right? Then total count dot text content will be equal to total tax. So now that we've implemented it, we need to call it in the add to button event listener. So update total tax would be here, and also we will need it here when we basically remove an item. So let's say redo. So you see our total count has been calculated here. Right. So let me just remove this hard coded. I think there's an issue somewhere in the code. Okay, we forgot to include the spam at the end. Reading, coding, so you can see the count. So let's work on the function for complete text count. So we create our function update complete. So we create the function, let's see, complete tax will be equal to document dot query selector or dot to do item dot completed dot the length. Then so we have our completed count dot text will be equal to completed tax. So after doing this, we will also we have to call it here and as well call it update completed tax and also to call it here. So let me press coding, reading. So when I press completed, it's, you can see it's there. Okay, so basically this is what we are supposed to do, but we have one issue to fix here. That is they're completed, like when you press on it's being completed, you could see that the this one isn't crossed. So I have to, so let's go to the completed here. I don't get it why it's not showing. To do item, target, get the closest to do item. If to do item, then to do item, first name, toggle, completed. Let me see something. You have completed. I want to try. I'm trying to go through and see where the mistake I didn't end it here. So coding. I don't know the mistake. I'm trying to figure out where. Oh. So coding, reading. Okay, so basically this is our to-do list. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for your time.